Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. I want to start this briefing by firstly appreciating the following stakeholders for respecting our presence and for agreeing that we should facilitate this session on their behalf, and we should try to find an amicable solution to the challenges facing our football. Maybe to be precise, our women football, our national team, BANYANA BANYANA. We had an agent session with the leadership of Labour, represented by their president, Nhlanhla Chabalala. Okay. Two. Why do I not go for my visa? And the entire part of the executive of the union, their vice president. I can't make a mistake with Munyai because he played for Swallows. So we want to thank them for respecting us. We also have the leadership of Safa in the meeting, led by the president. Thank you so much, President. The vice president, as well as the chief executive officer, the CEO. They also agreed to have to join the session. And we also had representatives of the players, led by the captain, Refilo. And each party was given an opportunity to express their frustrations and areas that they believe they need to be resolved and be attended. But before the session, we agreed to ground rules, being 4 specific matters, that all matters will be raised with the relevant respect, so that there's no shouting match and we don't have a situation where people feel disrespected. Secondly, that we should all acknowledge that this is an emergency session, so there are forums and platforms where these issues will be properly ventilated and be attended. So our intervention is not replacing any properly recognized platform. Thirdly, that each party will be given enough time to express their views, and then the other parties will also respond to those issues. And lastly, which is very crucial, that we try to set up a process that will be the final way of resolving these matters. And all parties agreed to that. And on the basis of that, we allowed the leadership of the union to start and express their views and areas where they feel that they are not happy. They raised 3 crucial areas. There are many other areas. I'm just summarizing them. They raised 3 crucial areas. The first one, which they feel very strong, was players not being allowed as players to continue to be at camp, or to continue to be players, or to continue to represent BANYANA BANYANA en route to the World Cup. They were of the view that a decision was taken somewhere that this team will not be allowed to proceed. 2, they raised issues of communication, where they felt issues of contracts, issues of payments, and other related matters were not addressed. And thirdly, they expressed a view about the venue where we are, that should be identified as a venue for the match. And they went at length, and I will elaborate on those issues when I represent the views of the players. So on the basis of those 3 areas, they also agreed that they're willing to enter into a process where these matters can be discussed, and for that we appreciated them. Then we allowed the players to raise their concerns. There are many these issues, so I'll go through all of them because they form the gist of the differences, and therefore it was very important that we listen to them and agree to issues. First thing that they were very upfront was that they've never taken a collective decision not to honor this fixture. There were issues that they felt that needed to be attended, and they themselves were caught by surprise when they were told that they don't want to honor this fixture. Secondly, they've raised the issue of contracts. That overall, they received the contracts, and on the basis of that, there were areas of deep concerns, and they wanted to formally place those issues, which will request amendments to the contracts. Thirdly, that they are of the strong view that football authorities were quite aware about the team qualifying to go to the World Cup. And there are issues that they felt that they should have been attended earlier than now. And amongst those issues was their opponents, and even though it was explained, but the players felt that without undermining Botswana, they feel that they are in a group that has top quality teams, and they felt that that should have determined who they should play. Secondly, they raised issues of the stadium itself. They are of the view that going to a World Cup of this magnitude, they need to play at the pitch that will not add to their health challenges in terms of injuries and issues that they feel that need to be attended in a proper field. That this being a match to send them off, other venues should have been scouted or searched or confirmed. Fourthly, they also raised issues related to the trip itself, in particular the clothing, the technical team, the support team that support them, that there are still outstanding administrative matters of the team that is going to go with them. So they are of the view that those outstanding matters were not properly clarified, and therefore they needed those issues, especially the support staff that supported them, that those issues should be attended and be resolved. They then also raised the concern that they were told as well, that if they don't cooperate, they will not be allowed to play either in this match, but also to play to represent the country. And they wanted to know where this communique came from, so that they are aware that they are still part of the team or not. And lastly, which is very key and very important, which allowed us to reach the resolution that I'm going to share with you, that their commitment to Banyana Banyana remains firm. That they are committed to execute their responsibilities. Is that these administrative matters that need to be attended, but no one must doubt their commitment to represent the country and their commitment to play as a team. Then we took the issues that Safa raised. One, that they completely rejected Safa, that NEC took a decision that the ladies should be immediately expelled and leave camp. That as Safa, they convened an emergency NEC meeting because never in the history of football that a home team will fail to pitch at a game. That they needed to protect that. And also, there are penalties already that they know if a team doesn't honor its contract. The penalties range around $250,000, and they felt that they needed to protect that. And thirdly, Botswana was already here, so we can't disrespect another country, and therefore they needed to put an alternative team so that that brand of our country and that brand of Banyana Banyana should be protected. But there are areas that they felt that need to be clarified. One, the choice of Tsakani Stadium was not a choice because there were no alternatives. Firstly, they felt that the game should be taken to Mbombela when they realized that other stadiums are not available. But the team is leaving on Wednesday. For them to leave here, go to Mbombela, come back, they felt that it does not make economic sense. And that is why they felt it. And it's only on Friday, Saturday, that the issue of the pitch was raised. And already logistical arrangements by the broadcasters, yourselves, were already made. And therefore, to move the game to another area was going to create problems. But Safa has checked other stadiums. And they were ready to take the match to those stadiums, but those stadiums were not available. Secondly, the issue of picking Botswana was also not to undermine the team. They emphasized that Botswana played us and eliminated us, but Botswana is the only country that raised their hands when they needed teams to play with. Other countries requested Safa to pay for their flight tickets and many other things, but Botswana was readily and more willing to play. So that's the reason why Botswana was selected, but it's not to undermine Botswana and also to undermine. And the CEO took us at length that the first contract was given to players on a Monday. Some players came later to say they want certain amendments, but the final amendments and a collective package from the players was only received on Saturday. And, you know, Saturday was yesterday and they play. And it does not mean, therefore, Safa was not prepared to listen to the contract. So now that they've got the contracts, and we'll see, we'll be in a position to give you how this matter will be resolved. And it's only around 9:30 on this morning that the communique came formally that the players are not honoring the match. And the president indicated it was around 10 when he received a call that the players are not honoring the match. And that is why they had to go on a hunt to get other players to come and represent the brand, purely on the basis of respecting the contract, and secondly, on the basis that you can't have a home team not pitching for a game. And thirdly, which is very, very important, that there are contracts and obligations that need to be met. So on the basis of that, we then felt that we can arrive at a acceptable way forward or solutions that can then end the impasse. And we presented 5 matters as mediators for consideration, and all of them were unanimously accepted by the 3 stakeholders. The first one is, as a country, we must unconditionally apologize to the people of Botswana, Botswana Football Association, CAF, FIFA, and also to our citizens for what transpired today. We unconditionally apologize, and all parties accept that we need to apologize. And there are further apologies that will be crafted and be sent to the relevant parties. Secondly, that all parties agree to a cease of hostilities, that from now on everyone will go back to the negotiating table. There will be no need for screaming, shouting, and the embarrassment that we're going through. Thirdly, that there are 2 crucial meetings that need to be convened urgently. The first one is a meeting that will deal with contracts, and the CEO was committed to start that process of having those meetings. And secondly, there will be a meeting just to deal with logistics of going to the World Cup. Safa has confirmed that they've organized Costa Rica, so the other friendlies that will be arranged, but there will be preparations, and then they will attend to issues. There are other matters of the players because they feel they need things like proper gymming area, proper nutrition, because they also have contracts with their clubs, and their clubs are monitoring them. So the two meetings of the contracts and the logistics towards the World Cup will be held as soon as possible. And then fourthly, the parties agreed to go back to the negotiating table with the proper processes, because we didn't want to impose ourselves the proper processes that organization resolve their differences. So if they meet with the captains or the team, they will do so. If they want a union to represent them, they will also allow that meeting and until those things. So, and the last point, obviously, is to convene this session to notify South Africans that we have resolved the impasse, and the teams will go and meet and attend to all outstanding matters. So I once more want to thank the stakeholders here for really respecting us and agreeing, and the emotions were very high, agreeing that we resolve this matter in a mature way, that the situation that unfolded today is not a situation that will be associated with our country, and that is why we openly apologize to all affected parties, affected countries and institutions and associations, and that we'll move with speed before the team leaves on Wednesday, that all these matters will be attended and be resolved, and hopefully we'll have a nice, proper farewell for the team, because they have no choice but to bring that cup back home. They have no choice but to bring back that cup back home. So if all these issues are resolved, we think that we'll have a team that will represent our country. I want to leave it here. I've summarized quite an extensive presentation. I hope I still represented the views of everyone correctly. And I want to leave it here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I leave it here?
Yes.
Are you fine? You're fine? Did I represent you? Thanks. Thanks. Safa, did I represent you? Yes. Can I formally close this session? Because to open for questions is going to create more problems. And we're trying to manage those problems.
We have questions.
Yeah. Yeah?
That's the reason you called us here.
And that's the reason I explained what has happened.
But if we have follow-up questions,
Timothy,
we need clarity.
you need clarity?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me start with you, Tim.
You say you've resolved the impasse.
Yep.
The main issue was the finances. How much is guaranteed for BANYANA BANYANA?
The teams are going to go into contract negotiations as from tomorrow, and the contracts entails those figures. So all the parties that wants to deposit their ideas, they've done that already. On Saturday, they've deposited all those things. And as soon as they conclude that aspect, then you will know. There's clarity?
President, is there an acceptance of the scale of the embarrassment of this event that we saw today, especially to the continent, not just the country, given these are the African champions, that it was allowed to get to this point, and do heads roll at Safa because of this?
Well, I think...
I don't want him. I'll respond on behalf of everyone. I don't want to lose... No. Respect that at least we have tried to manage this thing. We're still managing it. We don't want it to collapse because of misunderstanding. The reason why we are apologizing unconditionally is because we acknowledge that this matter has really brought huge embarrassment to all of us. And therefore, we need to manage it. We can't keep complaining about it. We need to manage it, and we felt that all the teams have committed to manage it. Let's allow them to go into their proper forums and resolve whatever that's outstanding.
Premier,
Yebo.
Ningim Dunga from Newsroom Africa.
Yeah.
When we arrived here, we saw there was a team that was playing, that was South Africa, but our team that we know, the South Africans, they were not on the pitch. Where does that team come from?
Well, I've been briefed that because of the 4 issues I raised earlier, 1, that contracts were signed, 2, that it really be abnormal where a home team does not pitch for a game, thirdly, the potential of fines, and fourthly, that our visitors were already in our country. The NEC of Safa felt that it's proper to go and look for players, and they did that from all the available players that could be on short notice to be here to represent their country. And we need to thank those guys. They've gone through difficulties themselves, and for them to enter that space and defend the flag and the name of the country should not be taken lightly. But we'll have an appropriate moment of speaking to them.
Remy, let's kindly switch away from News 24 Sport.
Yeah.
In the previous press conference, I think it was the Chiefs one, the Nedbank Cup semi-final, we actually engaged on the issue of the state of the venues here in Gauteng. What was Safa's response in terms of finding this venue when it's been clear that venues in the East Rand and venues in Pretoria have had an issue with them being of a standard of playing professional football?
Safa indicated that on the basis of the complaints that they received, they allowed obvious processes to come and verify the pitch, and the obvious process is match commissioners and all that to make a call. And they made a call that the pitch is playable, and that's the reason why they went for the pitch. They wanted other pitches. Those pitches were booked because this is off-season. Majority of pitches are being maintained during off-season. So majority of pitches were not available. This is what the pitch that was available. The only pitch that was available outside here was in Mbombela. But because of logistical arrangements and already SABC as a public broadcaster set up here, it was going to create problems because they only knew on Saturday morning that the pitch was a problem.
Can we answer to the allegation by Safa and the president that the players were on the bus and wanted to play and were told to get off the bus and that another team had been involved?
The players' commitment to play has never been disputed. Actually, the players needed an explanation who communicated a decision that they're not willing to play. That's an answer that they still want to get from us, but their commitment to play has already been was communicated, and we appreciate that. It was just a communication breakdown. We sorted it out. The parties are going back to the table to discuss.
Just on the negotiations, does Safa remain an integral part of that, or does it go back to Safa and just the players?
They represent players. Whoever the player feels that must represent them, it will be that way. Remember, we're just mediating on a crisis here. Future relationship of union recognition and other things, it's not something that we can preempt. But for now, all parties have agreed to a process. We're handing over that process to them to go. And I'm very hopeful that we'll find each other. I said to the team, listening to the issues that they've raised, it's quite clear that there were deep-seated differences amongst themselves. So this just created a spark. And now that everyone have tabled their issues, I'm quite convinced that a final resolution. We are going to have BANYANA BANYANA representing us at the World Cup. And we are going to be proud of the team that is going to represent us. And they are going to do their utmost best to bring this trophy back home. They have no choice, actually. Actually, they know the country needs this trophy. The mere fact they can bring AFCON, we just said, Dangi brought AFCON. We need a bigger one now. And this is the one that we want. And there's no way that we can beat to have the World Cup coming in South Africa, BANYANA Women's World Cup coming to South Africa, if we can't show them. So they must just go there and donor that Sweden. I'm going there personally to support it.
Just a follow-up.
Yeah.
Will the mediation of yourself or...
It's up to them. If they still want me to continue, I will. But you know FIFA and government, so I don't want to enter that space. We're mediating here because a potential violence was about to take place. We stopped it. Going forward, people will deal with the issues.
Any lessons learned from this episode?
Well, if we qualify early, Timothy, we must plan for things. That's the lessons. I think everyone has agreed. If we qualify, and that's what the players were saying, we knew when we qualified. We should have got the proper plan and other. And you can't also blame Safa because they are also going through their organizational matters for them to deal with the issues that they need. But that don't leave things to the last minute and the last hour. That's what I can say.
Last question for you. FIFA is saying 30,000 per player, US dollars. Is Safa trooping that money?
the contract's content is still going to be discussed by the team. And amongst the contracts, the key issues, bonuses and figures. So if I have to preempt it here when they are still going to have discussions, I don't think it will be proper. Can we leave it here?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.